Christmas, everyone. The NFL season has started, and Danny Shimon and I are so psyched up. Danny, how are you doing, brother?
I am doing great. Like you said, I'm psyched up. It's game week. We're breaking down film. We're breaking down formation, offensive play sets. We're breaking down players. But I'm really pumped up. Although this is a big game. It's not the one on Sunday. It's our fantasy league. It's me versus Aldo in our first game right now, guys. And I'm up 20.26 to 1 point.
So how'd you get up on 20 points? You got the
I got my quarterback Dak Prescott to my receiver Chris or not to my receiver, but Prescott threw a touchdown. Chris Godwin caught one for Tampa Bay, so I got both those guys in my lineup. So the dominance continues. Well, you know, I should.
You beat me twice last year, and you beat the crap out of me twice.
Well, let's try and continue that. I like that. I want to continue that.
And the thing is, I had a pretty decent team, but he had a really, really good team, this sucker. Oh, man. Hey, guess what? Bruce Ollie Walter Jordan is with us. I think this is the third or fourth show today that BAWJ has been with us. And I
appreciate the support. Love it.
Yeah, really. I am Skox. I'm going to say Skox, but I'm not sure what that is. Bucks versus Cowboys. Nah, Bears down. Yes, sir. Thank you for tuning in. We have a lot to cover today. And obviously, since there wasn't a preseason game last week, what Danny and I have decided to share with you is some tape about how the Rams offense works, a little bit of tape about the defense, and some tape about the Bears. But primarily, Danny wanted to share with you folks what the Rams do well. And I wanted to share with you guys the respect that I have for Matthew Stafford, because I really do believe he's been getting a lot of criticism. From Greg Gabriel earlier today was saying he's just a stat stuffer and so forth. But I see a quarterback who is technically sound, and I want Danny to break down some of that tape. Should we start there, Danny?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I pulled tape from last year's Bears-Lions game, the one that the Detroit lost to. It was the second game, right? Mm-hmm. They lost to that one. All right, so let me start with
34-20 or 34-30. It was a closer game.
Right. So let me start with the 15-yard completion to Marvin Jones, who you'll see highlighted, and it's a play action, which is something that Danny's going to share with everybody, how good the Rams are at play action. So take it away from here, brother.
Yeah, the first thing, it's Mohamed Sanu is the player. I think that's who the player was here line. But the first thing I'll take a look at with any quarterback is I want to see what they're doing pre-snap. I want to see what they're doing post-snap, right? Pre-snap, you see the Lions here are lined up in max protect. They have two tight ends, one on each end of the line. They have a running back in the backfield who's going to stay in. So pretty much it's a two-man route. Matthew Stafford right now is taking a look at that. He knows what's going on in terms of who's running where, and he's got a two-man route. And the first thing, if you go back Aldo to before the snap, I want to show something real quick here. Something that he keys on real quick is look at Jalen Johnson. Johnson's lined up with outside leverage. So right now he knows if this play action, if the linebackers, which are Danny Shimon and Roquan Smith, if they bite on the play action, and that's something we're going to keep talking about throughout the show today when we're talking about the Rams offense and things that they do well. The play action, if you have an effective running game and you can run a nice play action fake, you suck up that second level of that defense, and it opens up all that area behind those linebackers. He knows if that play action sucks up Roquan Smith now, the way that they're lined up pre-snap here with Jalen Johnson shading to the outside, Mohamed Sanu lined up to his inside, he knows that inside route is going to be open for him. So that's the one thing you could look at here, and you can kind of tell what Stafford's thinking here. Go ahead and run the play here. He runs a play action. Roquan Smith and Trevathan come in two steps. Look at that. Roquan's already out of position. Stafford steps back, looks down. He sees Roquan's back to him. He has no idea where the football is at. Jalen's already passed him off to his linebackers. And all he has to do now is hit a nice, accurate throw away from coverage, hit the receiver in stride. Bam, big-time play there. So that's the thing that Stafford can do. Stafford is a veteran quarterback, does a solid job of pre-snap, identifying what the defense is running or what they're trying to disguise they're trying to run. And then post-snap, he gets back there. You'll see throughout some of these tapes we'll show you here tonight, guys, is he's a veteran. He doesn't get rattled with pressure. He has an idea in terms of where his escape hatch is. Yeah, he's not the most mobile quarterback. He's not a Justin Fields or a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, where he can just tuck it and make big plays with his feet. But he has very good pocket presence. What I mean by that is he knows how to get away from pressure, how to buy some time in the pocket when pressure's in his face. And then just does a nice job of being able to deliver solid, accurate ball downfield in terms of ball placement, in terms of accuracy as well. So, where he's got that strong arm, he came out of college with a rifle for an arm. It's not what it was back in Georgia, but it's still a pretty damn good NFL arm. And we'll show you some throws here where again, even last year, he's making, NFL type tight window throws.
Yeah. And I really respect his mechanics. Now, when he came into the league, correct me if I'm wrong, Danny, because you know this much better than me, but when he came into the league, his mechanics weren't always sound. He had a tremendous arm. He had a lot of upside. But over the years, what I've noticed about Stafford is that his mechanics have gotten really good.
He's cleaned it up. It's become quicker. It's become solid. Guys with big arms, they rely on that arm strength, and they use that to be successful in college and pretty much throughout their career. Jay Cutler was a guy, big arm. His mechanics were all over the place. How many times do we see Cutler thrown off his back foot? Just because Elway too, John Elway, if you go back to his days, the guy that's also his mechanics weren't great, but his arm was so great, and he could beat guys, defenders, because he's able to, place the ball in an area only his receivers get to it, with accuracy, and also just that rifle arm. So as these quarterbacks age and get older and get smarter, more wiser, they clean up their mechanics. Their arms aren't as strong as they were when they were 24, 22-year-old rookies. So now they get better in terms of timing, even better in placement, and even throwing receivers open, like we saw there with Stafford. It wasn't a laser, it wasn't a cannon throw, but it was a nice, solid, tight spiral through his receiver away from coverage. Read right away pre-snap that his receiver, if this linebacker bites on this play fake, this receiver is going to have a nice streak here in the middle of the field, open area. Bam, there it goes.
All right, let's take a look at another play that caught my eye. This is Stafford's ability to step up into the pocket. And I've been saying it all week. It's vital that the Bears get an inside pass rush on Stafford, because he can really burn you when that outside pass rush is going to be minimized. I believe the Rams are going to game plan for that. And so if Stafford is allowed to step up in the pocket, he's going to do stuff like this. Take it away.
And then again, pre-snap, let's see what happens here. He goes, if you run it back real quick, although from the snap, from the
right, this is as far as I got right
okay.
here.
So if you're going to run it, and what happens is pre-snap, he wants to know what the Bears are doing. He's got Amendola running in motion there. No defender follows him. He goes, all right, Bears are playing zone here. So now he knows all the routes that our receivers are running. You go ahead and run the play here. Quinn does a nice job of getting up in his face, but Decker just allows Quinton momentum to go ahead and run him into Khalil Mack, pretty much taking off two guys with one block. Stafford is, again, calm, has that pocket presence to go ahead and just sidestep that pass rush, step up, and throws a laser right to Marvin Jones. And again, he knows Jones is running that stick route. He's going to go ahead and just kind of sit there in that zone. And then when it steps up, nice solid throw. This again is what I call NFL type throws.
Man, it's gorgeous. It really is. Now, let me ask you something about this play. So, and I wish we had a little bit more of the pre-roll before this, but he's got a man in motion who goes down towards the bottom of the screen. That looks like the tight end. And now he's reversing back upfield. And that is for the sole purpose
of identifying
Stafford identify whether zone or man-to-man, correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. So as soon as the ball is snapped, or even a split second or so, you're going to see Bears defenders fall back towards the first down marker. So is he noticing that and saying, okay, they're shifting coverage here at the very last second?
Well, what he notices, I think, right away is first of all, we talked about it, it's going to be zone. And now he wants to see where are these, if he can identify where these linebackers or these defenders' landmarks are, because these guys are dropping down to their landmark. So whether it's, down by the, 5 yards back, or if it's to the actual down marker, he's going to go ahead and identify. But I think that the pressure from Quinn kind of stops him, in terms of his processing. If you see right here, and now he has to adjust, but he knows where Marvin Jones is running. He's running that stick route right there. He's going to run to the marker, and then all he has to do is just throw it to Jones in his area to go out and make the catch. And then again, NFL type throws, some nice RPMs on that football. right to Marvin Jones for an easy pitch and catch first down.
Yeah, and so, but what I'm concerned about is that safety number 36, got 26.
That's Deion Bush.
Deion Bush, and then the cornerback on the slot. Watch here as I go frame by frame. Watch here as soon as the game clock or the play clock goes down to 5 seconds, they both drop back. What, 5 seconds, and see how they both drop back?
Right.
I'll show it one more time. So what I'm thinking is that this was a preordained play scheme by Chuck Pagano to try to fool Matt Stafford. Am I right or am I wrong there?
Yeah, that could be it. Because when you see him dropping back like that, that tells everybody that they're kind of playing like a bend don't break, or more of like it's not a prevent defense, but it's more so don't let anybody get behind you is what they're doing here. So
well, I think that what they're doing is they're defending the first down marker. It's third down and 10.
They drop back way back. Well, if you run the play, I think they drop back, like about 3, 4, or 5 yards behind the first down marker.
Maybe they should have excuse my language, but maybe they should have defended against the first down, because I believe that's what they pick up.
Way past them. That's why Staff is able to just hit that right away, gets Marvin Jones right there. So I'm not sure what they were doing in terms of, disguising their, because unfortunately with Chuck Pagano, a lot of times last year with some of his play calling, I had me, scratching my head towards the end of the season. I'm not sure what he's doing. A couple of plays here, we see the defender here, shifting off or passing along a receiver into the zone. And it just looks like the defender that has no idea who's coming or where it's coming from. So a lot of questions I have watching Chuck Pagano call, defensive plays. So that doesn't really change now that he's gone either.
Do you agree with Zach Sullivan, who says Brady looks as solid as ever? We should have signed him.
Yeah, I don't know how that realistic that was, to be honest with you, if he was going to want to come here or not. But he's the greatest of all time. Of course, I think he would. I think now this year he's going to be better than I was last year, because I remember last year he was adjusting to a new office, new system. I think now that he's more familiar with his players around him, obviously won a Super Bowl with them. So I think he'll put up some of the. I don't know if he's going to put up the gaudy numbers that he put up with Randy Moss and the Patriots and all them, but I think he'll put up some better numbers than last year for sure this year.
Yeah. All right. The next play I selected here was Stafford's chemistry with the tight end, and this is T.J. Hawkinson. Last year, I believe, if I recall correctly, I saw the stat, and I wish I would have written it down, but he threw 120 plus passes to his top two tight ends, and I just suspect that Gerald Everett and the other tight end for the Rams are going to be seeing, their share of targets Sunday night from the Bears against the Bears. But anyways, take it away from here, brother.
Yeah, again, similar formation. If you look like we have a situation here where we have a tight end at the end of the screen here, or end of the formation. The one thing here is Robert Quinn does a nice job of converting speed to power, bull rushing that left tackle Decker right back into him. And actually, this again, shows the patience, the doesn't get rattled presence in the pocket that Stafford has. And actually, this is he couldn't get fully into his throw because Decker's basically in his foot, in his lap. Mm-hmm. So he can't even step into his throw, but he still has that arm strength to go ahead and get that ball downfield, about 15, 20 yards downfield, and hitting Hawkinson there for a first down. If he had time to get the football, follow through and step through into his throw, this actually could be a freaking touchdown here. That's how good of a play design that was. But my question here, if I'm the Bears defense, is what is Buster Screen doing? If you want his play, he's just right there covering the slot, and all of a sudden he drops off into an area covering nobody. Now, unless he's assigned, he's playing zone, he's assigned to some sort of spot, and that's where he's going to. But there's no one in his area. Tayshaun Gibson breaks late on the football. I'm not sure what he's doing back there at safety. So as I'm saying, like when I run when I watch these tapes here of the Chuck Pagano defensive play calls, I just don't know. Are the players confused? Is the schematic calls too confusing for them? I'm not sure, but a lot of question marks here when I watch some of these Bears defenders from last year's tape.
By the way, I am Skokes is telling me Everett is no longer with the Rams. So
signed with the Seattle Seahawks, correct?
Yeah, apologize for that error on my part, and thank you, Skokes. My guess here is that maybe Jalen Johnson, number 33 at the bottom of the screen, he's playing the zone. So is screen,
it looks like the corners are playing zone. I mean, corners are playing man, and then the other underneath defenders, inside defenders are playing zone. From what I could tell,
doesn't it look to me like it's Jalen Johnson that makes the mistake here by allowing the tight end to go free, or it's just a bad scheme, as you said? So
that's a good call. It could be Jalen Johnson just coming off of it, but however, if you look at the other corner, it's typically. They're him and 23 Kyle Fuller are both playing man. It looks like now he is a rookie, so at this point, now I've seen some defensive coordinators where one half of the field on defense plays man, the other half plays zone to kind of confuse the quarterback. All of so if this is a rookie mistake, that could explain it, because it looks like he at one point it looks like he's trying to pass off the receiver inside to Roquan, and then all of a sudden he just charges onto the receiver, maybe thinking that Stafford's going to go to him. But yeah, two defenders on one guy that Stafford's not even going to throw to, and the other guy, the tight end, is open down the field for an easy first down.
Wow. And I'm glad you pointed out that Robert Quinn bull rush, because I didn't notice it, and it was great to see him put Decker on the quarterback's lap practically. So that's good.
And that's a couple of clips in this game that we see Robert Quinn provide some good solid pass rush. Unfortunately, he didn't finish and get the quarterback down on the ground. But if the other guys rally around them and provide some of that interior push, in that particular play. And one thing you'll see on these clips is the Lions offensive line does a pretty good job of giving Stafford some room in the pocket. Whether he might be getting some pressure from the outside with Mack and Quinn, but he's got a nice security blanket in the inside to go ahead and step up and make some nice throws down the field. So those inside guys, I think, really in this game at least didn't show out that well.
Yeah, and I believe Akeem Hicks did not play in that second game against Detroit. So
I think it's Jenkins. I think it's John Jenkins and Bilal Nichols, I believe.
Yeah, okay. So here is the last clip that I chose for you to analyze. It's Stafford's ability to go deep. I think he's got that great deep ball.
Again, how he completes this football with three Bears defenders around him and Cephas, the rookie receiver, running down there. I'm not sure. Maybe this is why Kyle Fuller now is playing for the Denver Broncos. But either way, it looks like they're in a nickel zone defense here. Again, pressure from Mack. He does a nice job of calmly just stepping around that pressure, gets outside the tackle box and points to his receiver to tell him to get downfield. This is 2+ minutes left in the first half, so it's not like it's a Hail Mary throw at the end of the half. But he just tells him to go down and I'm going to throw it up to you. And he does a nice throw, accuracy bucket throw. I call these, dropping it into the bucket, places it only where his receiver can make the catch. And again, my head is scratching because I'm like, why are there three Bears defenders there? And none of them can make a play in football.
Yep. Man, you ain't kidding. Oh man, it's so frustrating to see.
But again, this is what you see with Stafford here. It's like, even though he's gotten older, that physical talent is still there, and now he might be a little bit more wiser now in terms of pre-snap and post-snap, and that's I think what Sean McVay really wanted him on his system for and on his team for, because he with Jared Goff. Remember that was a thing where McVay was in his ears up until 15 seconds on the play clock where they cut off the communication. A lot of times McVay was telling him, look for this guy, look for that guy. If the safety is playing back, look for this guy. So this kind of stuff, Goff just never got. It's similar to kind of a Trubisky in terms of processing quickly, pre and post snap. But with a guy like a veteran like Matthew Stafford, who we see some clips here already being able to process, identify pre-snap coverages, what defenses could not do. Not get rattled when there's pressure around his feet, still have the athletic ability, the presence of mind to step up in the pocket, be able to, escape and buy some time. And of course, still have the arm strength to go out and make those NFL type throws, those tight window throws. I think this is why, Sean McVay is excited to have Matthew Stafford back there instead of Jared Goff now.
Yep. Well, let's take a look at Jared Goff play against the Bears last season. This is a play action pass, because you stressed to me, you got to watch the play action with these Rams. Right. I selected a few plays for you to analyze, starting with this one.
Yeah, again, here, play action. The one thing they want to do is they want to suck that second level of defense and open up that grassy area behind them, right? Open up some of that area to get these fast, quick, twitch, receivers out in the open field and let them do the thing. A lot of times you see a lot of misdirection here. You see the line pulling to the right, the defensive line, offensive line pulling to the right, defensive line following through with the flow. Now he rolls the quarterback back out. He brings Robert Woods across that formation, gets him open, easy pitch and catch right there, easy first down conversion. The Bears don't have a speed defender to go and be able to keep, in tight coverage with Robert Woods because of that foot speed that he possesses. A lot of misdirection, a lot of a lot of stuff where you kind of confuse defenders, you get them all crisscross, and next thing you know, you have a speedy guy going across the formation.
Yeah, is Khalil Mack here fooled?
It looks like the whole entire defense is fooled there because it looks like Mack's preparing for Robert Woods to come down and block on him and set that block that edge, and next thing you know, he's preparing to take on Woods, and Woods is just sneaking out behind Mack and going ahead and getting open. So this is where, again, that second level defense, a third level defense is going to be so key here because and it's gonna, with Trevathan out, it's Alec Ogletree is going to be a little bit step down in terms of coverage. We'll see how that goes, but I mean, I will look to see. I expect to see Sean McVay go ahead and try and take advantage of the Bears' lack of athletic ability in that second level of defense. Now the safeties and the corners are going to have to be. Of course, we have young corners starting. Both Vilder and Johnson starting this game as well. So. I'm seeing a lot of this stuff. If you put on tape, you'll see a lot of play action, second and third level defenders being sucked up into and getting confused. Next thing you know, their guy that they're supposed to be covering is running wide open across the formation. Now they're in a trail technique, 5, 10 yards behind the player, and it's the play is already over for the defender at that point.
All right, another play action pass. This one.
Perfect example right here. So what these so McVay, it comes from the Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan tree, right? So their tenet there is they want to collect fast athletic players and just get them in the open field and let them take advantage of their ability. What they do is they set up formations, the same formation, but they run different variations of plays from that same formation. This particular one here, again, the play action is key for this team. Here you have Gerald Everett, who no longer is with the team, but set up as a fullback in the I formation, right? The defense thinks he's gonna, with the play action, he might be coming up as a lead blocker. But what he does is, once you run the play action, the second level, look at those defenders. All three of them come up to a line of scrimmage. Everett leaks out from the backfield, and he gets out in the open field. This version right here, you'll see that the linebacker is caught flat-footed when Everett's coming out of that backfield, sneaking out of the backfield. Right here, the linebacker's already beat. It's done because Everett's a quick twitch, fast, hybrid / tight end. And when he gets them in the open field, what do you want to do? We talked about earlier. Get these athletes in the open field and let them go ahead and catch the ball, and then just use their natural athletic ability to go ahead and make plays after the catch. And this is what I love, what McVay and the guys like Kyle Shanahan do to scheme their athletes open, get them in situations where they take advantage of their athletic ability versus some of these defenders who, first of all, are some of them are confused in terms of what's happening. But then when they get caught, like this defender here, the linebacker gets caught flat-footed, game over. He has very minimal chance of being able to recover and get back into coverage, get back into phase with that tight end. Next thing you know, it's a 25, 30-yard play, and it's first and goal.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there you go. Only and excellent protection. There's only 3 receivers out on the play, and one of them is at below the line of scrimmage, the guy that was in motion. So
right. So a lot of these things are just eye candy. There are certain plays where the receiver's sole role is to either draw a defender, identify pre-snap coverage is what their defense is doing. Like that. I think that play was set up specifically for that tight end to be able to leak out of that backfield and to go ahead and make that big catch. Now that same formation, the same set of players, you could see them run the ball or hand the ball off to the running back and not do a play action. This is what I mean by what they do. They take the same formation and run different types of variations. Now, what you can do sometimes when teams get lack of depth, teams like this that have star athletes on them, big contracts, the depth behind some of those players isn't great. Case in point, Joe Everett no longer is with the team now, so they have to replace him with somebody else. You got to kind of key and see personnel. If this player is lined up here as a fullback, this H-back tight end, do they throw to him at all? Is he just strictly a blocker? Sometimes you can key on that, and about 85-90% of the time, if you key on that, you key correctly, and you can go ahead and kind of snuff the play out initially and stop it. But if he runs, a player like this, and Everett's back there, and he's done blocking before, and he's leaked out in the backfield before, it makes it tougher for you to go ahead and kind of recognize what they're going to do. You just got, as a second level player, linebacker, safety, whatnot, you don't have to read your keys and identify play, run versus pass, and get back into phase and coverage quickly.
All right, another play action pass for you to diagnose.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is why I keep talking about play action, guys. So here, he brings his running back back into the backfield here. He was lined up out wide, gets the guy in motion. The defenders shift, but it looks like they're playing some sort of zone here. But if you go back real quick, the one thing you'll take a look here is if he identifies what's going on in terms of zone, he sees that the inside player, I think it's a corner or safety, I'm not sure, shifts inside. Now he's got one-on-one coverage. That safety is playing single high. So his receiver here, Robert Woods, could even cut inside and get an easy completion, or he can cut to the outside. He probably cut to the outside because he saw that safety there, and he didn't want to get smacked by that safety, so went ahead and cut to the outside. Nice read by Jared Goff to go ahead and kind of be in the same mindset there with his receiver, throw a nice catchable football. Only his receiver can go and get to it. So that's a nice throw right there by Jared Goff.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But everything is predicated on play action. Mm-hmm. Even if they're not running the ball effectively, that just a threat of play action, what they can do with that zone blocking scheme is what really gets these defenders out of place, and you see some big chunks of yards. So again, quick, fast players, not the biggest guys, right? Just guys that are just shiftier and quicker than the second and third level players. Get them schemed up, get them open in the open field, and let them go and take advantage of it.
You said that even if the running game isn't picking up yards, and I think that's an important point, because there was some analytics done, I think this was about 2 years ago, that showed that play action is vital, even if you're not picking up yards. Right. Somebody did the whole analytical chart and said that play action can be very, very effective, because even if you're not picking up yards in the running game, it is bound to hold the linebackers in. It works. Right.
The only time is unless your offensive line is getting bowled off the line of scrimmage 2-3 yards into the backfield, and every time you run the ball, your running back is being dropped for 2-3 yard losses. That makes it a little difficult, because you're not always behind the chains now, and it makes it a little bit difficult to kind of maintain a running game. But as long as you're getting positive yards, whether it's 1, 2, 3 yards, eventually with the zone blocking scheme, it's all about angles, all about getting creases, setting up creases for these running backs. Typically, these running backs in this type of system, this McVay, Kyle Shanahan system, they got to be quick-footed running backs that can get through the line of scrimmage in a small enough crease to get out into that second, third level defense and put on the afterburners and get down the field. So that's a threat. Is that one play? You could be stopping the run for the entire first half, and then one play, one crease, you get one of these running backs out in that second, third level. The next thing you know, it's a 10, 20, 30-yard run. Now all of a sudden you got that threat of play action back into the back of your mind as a defender. So again, I agree with you, Aldo. As long as you're getting positive yards, you're not being blown off 3-4 yards off the line of scrimmage, I think play action is the running game is key to any balanced offense. If you have a good play action play action faking quarterback who can really sell that play action fake, I'm telling you, drawing that second, third level defender opens up the whole middle of the field. And you'll see that when we watch over some of these Ram films, you watch some of the 49er films, even go back to so much those old Dumber Bronco films with Mike Shanahan. That play action, that threat, that run really opens up. It gets a lot of attention from those linebackers and really opens up in the middle of the field.
The other thing, again, that's interesting on this particular play action pass, just like the last one I showed, only 2 wide receivers out. And the third one is the safety valve by the line of scrimmage. But they do a lot of max protect on the play action. And that's very interesting that they would choose to do that.
Yeah, they do a lot of max protect, even with the Lions, where we showed a couple of clips there with the Stafford clips. So a lot of max protects, a lot of 2-man routes. Typically, you'll have a third man, like a running back, leaking out of the backfield, just as you said, like a safety valve in case you need to dump the ball off. But yeah, I mean, these guys, they do such a nice job of scheming these guys open. And sometimes you'll see like if their coverage is there, and they have nowhere to throw the ball, you'll see them kind of chuck the ball out of bounds and get rid of it. But 8 out of 10 times, these guys are able to get themselves that leverage to be able to create a throwing lane, a window for the quarterback to get the football to them.
All right, here's another play action pass. I think it results in a touchdown against that tough Buffalo defense.
Yes, this is another we're talking about here. Like they have 2 tight end sets at the right side of the line of scrimmage here. If you're Buffalo, you're thinking run play, because this is a formation they probably run the ball on so many times. So already you have like 8 or 9 defenders in the box. Play action sucks everybody up, and here's Cooper Kupp running scot-free. And why is Cooper Kupp running scot-free? All right, hold up right here, Aldo. Pause it. Look at 27. That's Tre'Davious White. That's a Pro Bowl cornerback, guys. He's covering Cooper Kupp in the slot. Look what happens to him with the play action pass or play action fake. He stops. He's coming in. He thinks it's a run. And what happens now? Cooper Kupp's wide open because he's left Tre'Davious White at the line of scrimmage. Run up one more time, Aldo, if you can, rewind it real quick.
Mm-hmm.
By the time Tre'Davious White recognizes that that's a passing play, Cooper Kupp's already 3-4 yards away from him in the open field, and it's an easy touchdown. Man. And again, this is Tre'Davious White. This is a Pro Bowl cornerback, guys, that gets confused by this play action play here.
And that is troubling because of who we have playing in the defensive backfield.
Look at Kupp. Kupp's already gone. And now White realizes it's a pass. He's trailing all the way.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but here it is one more time from that angle so you can see clearly number 27 on the left side of your screen there.
Yep. And this is what it does. This is how it sucks in that second level, third level defense, and it just allows these guys to run scot-free, wide open. And a lot of times you're going to be like, how can he get that wide open? Mm-hmm. It's just the way that these guys scheme it up, and they get these athletes into the open field, and next thing you know, they're big plays waiting to happen.
How worried are you with the Bears' defensive backfield? The unproven Kendall Vildor, the unproven Duke Shelley, the unproven Artie Burns, at least in Chicago, unproven. How worried are you? Because I think we all have a high level of confidence with Jalen Johnson, but these other guys, we haven't seen much.
Well, if Artie Burns is in the game, I'm going to be really worried right now if he's playing, because I'm not, in terms of staying in phase and coverage. Artie Burns to me has not shown that he could do that right now. So if the front four doesn't get pressure, or if they don't bring a fifth defender and rattle, we talk about rattle. Matthew Stafford doesn't get rattled, but get to Matthew Stafford and bring him down. I think it's going to be a long day, especially with the lack of overall team speed at that second level. Roquan Smith is good, but I don't think Roquan Smith can keep up pace with Robert Woods in terms of foot speed or Cooper Kupp or anything like that. But they got these crossing routes going off here, and again, play action. If they're sucking in that defense, if sucking that second, third level, it's going to open up that backfield, and we'll see some of these guys running scot-free for big games probably. Look at their receiving core, right? The Rams receiving core. It's guys like Van Jefferson, who I'm high on coming off of Florida. We got Robert Jones. We got Cooper Kupp, and they got Deshaun Jackson as well. Deshaun Jackson is not the receiver he was, 5, 6, 7 years ago, but he's still a quick twitch, fast receiver that is capable of getting downfield and open, especially on some of these crossing routes and rattling off a 10, 15-yard reception there. So I'm pretty concerned in terms of what the Bears are going to do in terms of answering this offensive scheme. The bright spot, if you will, is Sean Desai is a disciple of Vic Fangio. And if you remember, Vic Fangio did a pretty good job of pre-snap disguising his coverages, what he was going to do, confusing the quarterback at the time, Jared Goff. Now, will Desai still be able to do that and confuse Matthew Stafford? I just showed you some clips right now of Matthew Stafford doing a nice job of pre-snap identifying what the defenses were doing. Was against a Vic Fangio defense. We'll see what happens here. I'm sorry. It was against a Chuck Pagano defense. We'll see what happens here with Sean Desai. Everything we've heard coming out of camp is the players are bought into Desai, that they are really raving about him, and that they see a lot of what Fangio brought with this defense as well. So that's the one thing I am looking forward to seeing is that matchup in terms of Desai versus McVay and the play calling and the scheming.
All right. Now I want to show you some tape of the Rams defense. And frankly, I'm not even sure I had a chance to show you this beforehand. So you might be seeing this for the first time, but this is the other cornerback on this team reading the bubble screen, which worries me because I know how Matt Nagy loves to throw that quick screen to the wide receivers. The cornerback out there is Darius Williams. And so let me play the play completely through, and then you can comment on it. He just reads that so quickly.
That's play scheme right there. That's tape study. That's knowing tendencies there, formations and what the Seahawks do there. So as soon as you saw Metcalf line that way, one step back, he can go ahead and break on it. That's a weak block attempt there by Tyler Lockett there. So that's Lockett's man to go ahead and block and keep away from DK Metcalf, because if Metcalf catches that ball and Lockett does a block, I mean, there isn't a Ram defender around them. So that's an easy, probably, 8-10 yard gain. So this is why, a lot of times coaches say it's just execution. So if Lockett executes that block, that's probably a first down or a positive play. Instead, it's a great read, great defensive play by the corner there, picks off that Russell Wilson football for a pick six. So this is where the coaches get into execution and always harp on that. If you're able to execute better than the other opponent, you can probably be successful and win games. So that's a key thing right there. I look at it and say, that play wasn't executed the way it was drawn up.
All right. By the way, 4,000 Clover says the Bears know Stafford very well. I don't see him being a threat at all. He won't be the reason the Rams win. What you say?
The Bears know Stafford as a Detroit Lion with the weapons he had in Detroit. They don't know him as a Los Angeles Ram. They don't know him with some of the weapons they have around him in Los Angeles, and they don't know him with this type of play caller, this type of schematic head coach, a guy that can scheme guys open. So, Matthew Stafford is probably going to have some more easy throws with better results here within the Rams offense than he ever had with the Lions. The Lions, it was pretty much him, and he was relied upon to throw to a spot, throw receivers open. With the Rams, it's just let the play go. See what the defense is doing and find your outlet and find your guy, streaking across the formation for, a 5-6 yard, reception, but turn into a 20-25 yard play.
All right. Here is a play with Jalen Ramsey getting help from the safety. Take a look at this play. That's the safety who was going to just do a 360 almost, right. 180, I should say, and get over and help disrupt the play. I'll play.
Yeah, but that to me was more Jalen Ramsey. Just he got beat off the snap. Looks like then does a nice job recovering, looking back, finding the ball, and making a play on the ball. Safety, safety gets spun around. For me, that if I'm grading this tape, that safety gets a bad play in terms of misreading that quarterback and what's going on here in the situation. But I think for me, Ramsey here shows some of his athletic ability to go ahead and be able to recover, beaten right there by DK Metcalf, recover, look back, locate, and still make a play on football. Just a tremendous play for me.
Do you think that it's possible that the safety was trying to trick Russell Wilson into believing he had one-on-one Ramsey and Metcalf and delayed that reaction? It's almost like he's ready to go anyway, but there is no way to go towards the bottom of the screen. He really has to make his move to Metcalf. And I almost felt like he was just delaying to try to suck Wilson into throwing to Metcalf and then getting over there and helping his cornerback.
If you run it back from the beginning, if you can, real quick, sure. He's in, looks like they're in a 2-man, cover 2 formation here. If you go ahead and run it, okay. There is no one crossing his territory. So his main thing is give over top help to Jalen Ramsey there for me when I'm grading the safety. And that's why I think he recognizes there's no one coming across. There's no one he's going to break on. He's got to go ahead and turn around and give that over the top help. And if you see his reaction there towards the tail end there, he knows he messed up there in terms of being able to read and give that over the top help. That's how I would read this play. Yeah. And you can see him even get flat-footed and get kind of spun around and do that 180 and get down and trying to get to help Ramsey. But if that catch is made by DK Metcalf and that's a big touchdown, that safety is going to be yelled at the next day in the team meeting.
Mm-hmm. All right, couple more clips here. I wanted to show some good stuff from the Bears. So we can have a little bit
from last year. Or are you talking about from preseason?
This is the Bears Rams game from last season, and Anthony Miller goes in motion and stops at the slot. I'll let you take it away from here.
Yeah, moment of silence here for my guy Anthony Miller, no longer with the football team, but. Yeah, it does a nice job of just going and beating that inside slot corner, getting to the outside. I think this is a nice throw here by Foles, hitting him in stride on his outside cut break there. I believe this turns into a first down here, first down conversion for and there it goes.
The other thing about it is that the receiver I got highlighted at the top here, he's wide open underneath.
Darnell Mooney. Is that Mooney coming across? Yeah. Yeah, it looks like Foles was going. Remember, this is the game that Foles was the greasy game where Foles had told him that he was seeing ghosts and or something in terms of the formation. The calls are coming in from Matt Nagy, and he has no idea what they're dealing with back there. So this is the one I think Foles like. I'm just get rid of the football. I see my guy Miller getting some outside leverage on this guy. Let me go throw it to him and get that first down. So that's why I don't think he went through a progression, to be honest with you. just want to get rid of that football
Well,
there. So.
well, I think actually he made the right decision because Miller had his guy beat for the first down, and so he really didn't need to throw to the wide open guy underneath because the first down pass was there to Miller. So
right, yeah, it's a positive play, but I don't even see his head going left or right. I think he's just looking at Miller, sees that matchup, he likes it, and he's just going to go to him, get rid of that football real quick there.
Very good.
But the one thing though, it's in with the Rams is we got to keep in mind that they have a new defensive coordinator. They're keeping the same scheme. They're playing at 3-4. Brandon Staley, who was under Vic Fangio here with the Bears, had the Rams that is last year as a top-rated defense. So now Raheem Morris is the new defensive coordinator. He comes from the cover 2, the Lovie Smith, the Tony Dungy tree there in terms of the type of defense he plays. They're maintaining the same scheme. They're running a 3-4. Of course, we have players like Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. You have some superstar players on talent on that defensive side. So, but it's curious to see if Nagy and company are able to scheme some of these plays open and maybe take advantage of a team that's still in transition in terms of going from a new defensive coordinator. So, even though they're maintaining the same scheme, it's a different defense. We saw it here with the Bears, right? They kept the 3-4 when they went from Fangio to Pagano, but it was totally a different defense. So we'll see how that turns out.
Stephen Me is asking Nick Foles to Anthony Miller highlights. Why? Because there weren't that many highlights.
Because all those trying to pull out some positive plays from last year's Bears-Rams game, that's the one he was able to pull out.
Exactly. We're looking at scheme, not the players. But if you want to look at players, how about this one for you, Stephen? This deep pass to A-Rob.
Yeah, this is actually a terrific play by A-Rob here. If you go back and take a look at the release at the line of scrimmage, it gets off nicely and cleanly off of, again, Jalen Ramsey, who's a phenomenal cornerback. Gets in a bit of a foot race here and actually gets out over the top leverage over Ramsey. Now, Ramsey, this looks like he's a little bit flustered there. It doesn't look like he does a good job of going back and looking for the football and making a play on it. But a little bit looks like it was caught in a little bit no man's land. Maybe he was just surprised that Robinson got by him so quickly. But just a great play by Allen Robinson. So it starts at the line of scrimmage with receivers and cornerbacks, especially if they're going to press you, they're going to try and jam you. You get that clean release. Don't get them to be able to reroute you. You put on some of your athletic ability, some speed, get downfield, and just go up and make a play in the football. This is what we've seen from Allen Robinson do, week in and week out in his, so far his short career with the Bears.
Zach is being a killjoy saying, notice it's garbage time, though. No, it's early in the fourth quarter and only down by 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns. Come on. And then Matt Nagy offense, 3 touchdowns is nothing.
That's right. But the point is that in press coverage, A-Rob beats Jalen Ramsey, who is considered the god of all cornerbacks now. So this is a real good positive. I don't care if it's garbage time or not. He beat him one-on-one, and that's a good thing.
Right. That's a positive. Yeah. And when I saw this clip, I was a little bit surprised how easily he beat him off the line of scrimmage too. So.
Yep. And I want to, before I go to the defense, I have another clip here. I have it on a different source. So let me line it up. This is a clip of Darnell Mooney beating Ramsey. And so that's going to be a big matchup coming in to this game. Everybody's going to wonder, is this going to happen? Are we going to finally get a quarterback able to hit the wide open Mooney?
Well, if it's Justin Fields in there, I'd say yes, but with Andy Dalton, it's going to be hit or miss. But we know, this is another one of those. Ramsey, for some reason, just didn't have a good game that week. I'm not sure, but this is a nice route here, little slant and go, a stutter there at the top of his route by Mooney to go ahead and create that separation. Ramsey obviously bites on that fake inside, and then Mooney, if he's hit in stride there by Nick Foles, that is an easy touchdown.
And what's exciting for me is listening to Mooney talk about that he is added to his pass route repertoire by adding, as he says, a little sauce. So it's the changing of speed. It's a little head fake. It's a little shoulder fake and so forth.
So this to me is saucier here. This is a saucy move for
exactly.
It's a slant go. Call them sluggos. You kind of fake the slant and then you just stop and you go. So I think that he's already got some sauce. If he's gotten even more sauce here, it's even better. But he's on an injury report with a back issue, so hopefully that's not too serious. Mooney, that is. So we'll see what happens. But
I asked Greg Gabriel about the injury report. He says, don't pay too much mind to it. They're obligated to, if somebody's got a hangnail, they're obligated to report that on the injury list. So don't worry too much about it at this point. So we'll see. Here's another play where Mooney gets wide open. Take it away.
Yeah, again, just it looks like he gets on the field and does a nice. We talked about that saucy move right there, a little head fake, fakes go inside and just breaks it to the outside. His shiftiness, his quickness is very underrated. Coming out of Tulane, a lot of the talk was his just deep speed, his ability to go, run a 4.4, 4.3, 8.40, depending on the time you believe that he came out with last draft. But his route running, his shiftiness is something that really impressed me as a rookie. So if you're talking about earlier, him adding some sauciness to his route running, that's exciting to see. If he develops that ability to continue to create this type of, passing, this type of the windows, right, getting open like this, that's going to be exciting to see. Now, I did notice that those are both on field turf, so they were they weren't on the great turf we have at Soldier Field. So I wonder if the footing and the ability to be able to cut quickly on those is kind of helped them be able to get that wide open. But again, Mooney is a kid that really did surprise a lot of people last year, including myself, in terms of how he had progressed as a rookie. I think him and Al Robinson have probably it's probably neck and neck in terms of who has the best hands on the team. And some if some people say it's Mooney over Robinson, I don't think I'll put up a fight, because he made some tremendous catches last year in terms of just his hand catches, So now, yeah, really excited to see what he does. Like, as I'm hoping he's healthy, hoping it's nothing serious with his back. I want to see him go out there and try and see if he can duplicate and even get better of what he did last year.
Yep. All right. If you all remember that terrible game against the Rams, the only touchdown scored was by the defense, and here it is.
This is the fumble recovery. Yep. Scoop and score by our guy Eddie Jackson there, who is now number 4 this year. So he changed his number from 39 to number 4.
And Danny Trevathan will be wearing number 6 when he returns. How about that, Danny?
Oh, I didn't hear that. When was that announced?
That was announced a few days ago. Yeah, he's taking over Jay Cutler's number. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, okay. Wow. All right. That's cool. That's the first time hearing about it right now. So this is, I believe it's Robert Quinn actually making a play here, going in and getting the blocker. I think it might be a tight end, or actually, the tight end into the backfield, goes in and actually strips the receiver there. Robert Jones with the football, and Jackson's just there to scoop it and score it. So again, we've talked about Robert Quinn having a bad year last year, but yes, we've gone to 2 games here from last year, and we've shown 3 or 4 plays where he made a positive impact. So, and the thing is that he wasn't fully healthy last year. Might have been not used correctly in the scheme. So that's another guy that I'm curious to see what happens here with him this year. A, hopefully he's healthy, and B, hopefully he's being utilized the way he wants to be, in the way the Bears think they could take advantage of his ability to go ahead and create some pressure off the edge. But just in these 2 games with the Lions clips and now these Rams clips, we see Robert Quinn making some positive plays.
All right. I just want to take a quick look at the stats from last year's game. I don't think it's going to reveal anything other than depression for us as Bears fans. Foles was 28 out of 40.
This is one of the more. The score was only two touchdowns, right? It was 14, but it just felt like it was not a close game ever. I mean, the defense, I think, did yeoman's work in terms of trying to keep them in the game for as long as they could. Obviously scoring the only touchdown for the Bears last year, the defense did, but it just felt like they had no chance really at winning this game, and it was unfortunate. I think this is the game that they ended up bringing in Trubisky at the end, or they kept Foles in the first. Okay,
just Foles. You see Foles in the stats. Yeah, just him.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just one of those games where it's like, we just wanted it to end quickly, because the Bears really had nothing going on offense and really weren't doing much.
Right. And Goff did throw 2 touchdown passes against the Bears, kind of his revenge for that 2018 game at Soldier Field, where the Bears defense just annihilated him. Goff threw those 2 touchdown passes, and we'll see what Matt Stafford can do. What's your overall thought on what Matt Stafford is going to look like as a Los Angeles Ram under Sean McVay?
I mean, the expectations are high, and I think I agree with them in terms of what this guy could do. Again, I'm very high in terms of Sean McVay in terms of how he can play call, how he can scheme guys open. And I think with the talent that Matthew Stafford has, still at this age, I think he's a very, very good quarterback. The playoff record, he's 0-12 in the playoff. That's something that's going to haunt him probably for the rest of his career until he gets over the hump and wins a playoff game. But the one thing I do think, while I like the matchup in terms of the combination of McVay with Stafford, I think that the hype is really too high with this Rams team. So and what I'm saying that is because, again, defensively, they were the number one defense last year. Lost defensive coordinator. That's going to be a transition there. Let's see how they recover there. And we talk about with Stafford. There's still it's still a new quarterback. It's still a new system. He's still going to have some time to go ahead and adjust. So prediction of these guys going to the Super Bowl, I think, are a little bit too premature for my opinion. So the Rams are going to be a team kind of similar to the Buccaneers last year, in my opinion. That they're going to end up getting better as the season goes on, because there are a lot of new players brought in both on offense and defense, and new defensive coordinator. So I think this is a team that may get off to a somewhat slow start, but I think as the season goes on, that they're end up probably getting better. But just putting them in right now in the Super Bowl talk, I think for me is a little too premature.
Mm-hmm. But I've been reading a little bit about the Rams defense. There was a couple of good articles about why we should not expect the Rams defense to be better than last year, despite the fact that, they've all got a year under each other. But to meet those kinds of numbers that they had in 22 as the number one overall defense in the NFL is highly unlikely historically. We saw it in 2018 with the Chicago Bears. They were the number one defense. They were tremendous. In 2019, there was a drop-off. So we can expect that because history tells us that. You agree?
Yeah, I mean, another thing we forget about it too is they lost at least 3 or 4 stars off that defensive front, defensive unit. They lost a cornerback, Ty Hill, and they also lost Johnson, the safety. I believe both of them signed with the Browns. Michael Brockers, who was a highly drafted kid out of LSU, but never really developed into the pass rusher. But he was a solid run defender up front, so he gave him some stout, in terms of a run defense there. So if those 3 guys are all gone, we've already touched upon the defensive coordinator. So yeah, for me, to highlight them as a number one, defense coming in from last year and kind of give them that same, put them back up on that same pedestal, I think is a little bit far fetched right now. We got to see how this season plays out and how the new players, the new unit gels with the new play caller. So it'll be interesting. This is why it gives me some hope in terms of what the Bears could do, especially if they come in with a solid, sound game plan. Again, for me, although I think you agree that the Bears game plan has to revolve around establishing some sort of running attack. I'm not saying Montgomery's going to have to run for 150 yards, but at least we talked about just at least attempt to run the ball, attempt to be balanced on offense. They've been praising Andy Dalton in terms of what he's been doing in training camp and in the practices in terms of anticipation throws, throwing receivers open, throwing away from coverages. I'll love to be able to see that. I'll see it on tape here because we haven't seen much of Andy Dalton at all this preseason. So, if they can come in there and maybe give the Rams a quick, 1-2 punch and kind of get them on their heels, maybe they'll start, feeling a little bit of pressure. And the next thing you know, the Bears front four can start getting to Stafford and producing some sacks. We talked about Quinn, we talked about Mack, we talked about Akeem Hicks. Some of the new guys, if Trevon Gibson gets some playing time and Jeremiah Tuche gets some playing time, maybe they can continue to bring some of that pressure. Decide being a disciple of the Vic Fangio's tree, maybe do some schemes in terms of confusing some of the coverages in terms of, or disguising some of the coverages that they're going to be running and getting maybe some turnovers. It would be a nice way to also jumpstart this offense. So, there is some hope. I know the Rams, I believe, are touchdown or more favorites in this game in terms of the point spread, but
7.5 last time I looked.
Yeah. So there is some hope for me in terms of the Bears being able to possibly go in and pull this off. There's still a lot of issues with the Rams that I would, that gives me some hope that the Bears can go in there and maybe pull this.
4,000 Clover says that he loves you, but totally disagrees. Stafford is a nobody, and his accolades are a testament to that. And in fact, hold on a second. We had Don Burr on here. You love to interrupt me, don't you? Don Burr was on here, and he is a Detroit fan, and he even said himself that Stafford has never done anything. What do you say?
No, I agree. His record, his playoff record, and that's where these quarterbacks are judged really on is their playoff record. He's 0-12, and he hasn't done much in the playoffs. But for me, what I like about him is he hasn't been put with a team with this type of head coach and this guy play caller, and with some of these offensive weapons that are around him. That's where I feel like he will go ahead and flourish and shine and probably be better off than what he was in Detroit. Now, what's going to hurt them is the lack of a running game. They lost their running back from last year, Cam Akers. I know they just went ahead and just picked up Sonny Michel, but he's still new to the system, so I'm not sure how much he's going to be there in terms of incorporated within the running attack. But if you complement him with a solid running game, Stafford that is, and he's got the skill set, he's got the veteran moxie. We talked about his calmness, his pocket presence. This guy's is a pretty good quarterback. I'm not saying he's all world and he's a MVP candidate, but that talent is undeniable, guys. His arm talent, his ability to make those throws, and again, you scheme him up with this kind of with a coach that can get guys open. It's going to be easy for him in terms of throwing these guys, throwing to his receivers, and depending on how big of a passing window that they can create in terms of schemes and route running.
He has an 11-9 record against the Bears, so that speaks highly about him, at least against the Chicago Bears. And he's never had that rushing attack at Detroit. Detroit has only recently built an offensive line that could help, and they've traditionally had bad defenses year after year. So it's a totally different scenario that he's in. Stephen Nagishi wants to know about Darrell Henderson. You scouted him coming out of where was he?
Out of Memphis. Yeah, he's a guy that I was really high on coming out of Memphis. I thought his big playability would have been a nice compliment to the Bears. Wasn't as high as Montgomery and some of the other backs in that draft, but so far he's been a disappointment for the Rams. I think he's a guy also went in the third round. I believe he went either before or right after Montgomery in that third round of that draft. So he's a guy that so far to me has been a disappointment. He hasn't kind of fulfilled what I thought he was going to be at the next level. But he's a guy that does have some speed, guys. So he's a guy what we talked about. Remember with this zone blocking scheme, all you got to do is just create that lane, create that that space, that crease, get these running backs out past the line of scrimmage and into the second, third level of the defense. And he's got that big play speed. I think he ran a 4.44 high, low 4.5, high 4.4 coming out of Memphis. So the kid's got big play potential. Just a matter of getting him on track and getting him, producing some more consistent production. But again, he's got this big play speed, so he's a threat. So you have to be worried about him. But again, I think if the Bears play their game in terms of if Akeem Hicks is healthy, Bilal Nichols continues to improve from the last couple of seasons, I think up front they should be a little bit more stout than they were the last couple of years. And if we saw Alec Ogletree in terms of middle linebacker being pretty good against the run. It's in coverage and pass coverage where I think he might struggle, and this is where I see maybe Sean McVay scheming and taking advantage of him and his lack of foot speed, if you will, to be able to to stay in phase with some of these these receivers in that second level of defense.
4,000 Clovers is asking you, what do you think about Gibson, and will he eventually start over Quinn?
Well, I mean, guys, we talked about Gibson last couple of shows. I'm very, very encouraged by the development I've seen in Gibson from last year to this year. We highlighted some of the plays he made against Tennessee. His ability to pass rush off the edge, it looks explosive. It looks, obviously he's got the physique, the nice physique, the nice length, but it looks like he's got bulkier, bigger. So yeah, I mean, for me, Quinn is up against it this year. We talked about it a little bit here in terms of him showing some positive plays last year, although it was overall was a negative season. If Quinn doesn't show to be, a positive play out there on defense, if he's getting, being consistently in terms of a run defender, doesn't provide that consistent pass rush to either A, get the sack, or B, affect the quarterback in a negative manner, then I would like to see Gibson get some playing time. Sure, I like to see Tucci get some playing time as well. Jeremiah Tucci, I've been very high in that free agent signing that they brought him in last year from the Broncos. So yeah, those are two guys that I think would give them some nice depth at the outside linebacker. And definitely, if there's not production up front, I want to see them come up and play. Gibson still has to get a little bit more better, more stout in terms of the run defense. It's not that he doesn't try harder. He's not a physical presence. It's just sometimes he gets pinned inside. It doesn't do a good job of setting that hard edge and being able to funnel consistently, at least funnel that running back inside to a big guy. So that's where he's going to have to continue improving and better. But in terms of just that first step off the line of scrimmage with that length, with that bendability around the corner, I've liked what I've seen so far from Gibson, guys.
Me too, man. Steven says, what does Danny think of our tight ends compared to the rest of the league? This is a huge year for Cole Kmet. Can he step up to be an elite tight end? Seems like we've got great depth there. This could be a strength for us. Your thoughts on the tight ends?
I mean, I like the tight end room. I don't know if they're great yet. I mean, for me, Cole Kmet is second year. I don't know if it's a make or break year for him necessarily, but I think he's a guy that I definitely do look to see. I want to see him progress. I want to see him become a more viable threat on offense. The thing I love about Kmet is that he's a Y inline blocking tight end, right? And you can flank Jimmy Graham, whatever he's got left. 8 touchdowns last year, not something you can sneeze at, right? You still have to kind of respect that fact that he can go out there and make some plays, at least in the red zone. Jimmy Graham go in and box out these defenders and go up and make a play on those jump balls. But with Kmet, blocking, I think he's going to develop and become a solid inline blocker. It's after getting open, making, the catch. And what bothered me a lot about Kmet last year was he's a tough SOB to bring down after the catch, but a lot of times the ball just came out too easily for me. And he's got to be able to secure that football and make sure he doesn't fumble that ball. So continue to progress, continue to get better. But one fun thing about him is when he catches the ball, as long as he holds on to it, he's a fun guy to see the defense trying to come down and tackle. So it's going to be a nice combination, hopefully. Now they kept Jasper Horster, which to me was a little bit of a surprise. I know that last game against Tennessee was a big game for him, but he's a converted receiver into a tight end, and I just don't know, other than special teams, what he's going to give them right away off the bat. Now, is a guy you want to continue and develop? Sure. And then JP Holtz, he's a guy that played multiple positions for the Bears. He's a guy that played lined up as a fullback in the I formation. He's lined up as an inline tight end. He's flanked out wide in the slot as well. So I think he's a guy. Obviously, he brings a lot on special teams as well. So he's another kid that unfortunately he's been a little bit injured, a little banged up here in the preseason. Haven't seen much of him. So, but for me right now, it's going to be Graham and Cole Kmet until further notice.
Yeah, I'm higher on Horsted than you are based on what you just evaluated there. Now I do know that there's some deficiencies, but he's got such great big play ability. We saw it in the game, in an NFL game against Detroit last year. He scored a acrobatic touchdown, and we saw it in preseason with that 4 touchdown game. He could be a nice combo with Justin Fields when Fields finally gets on the field.
Well, it's the thing. You've seen glimpses of here and there with Horsted, and again, a former college receiver, or they'll block it up and make him into a tight end. Is he a good pass catcher? Yeah, he can catch the football. I just don't see him in terms of putting anything on tape consistently, at least. Again, young player, developing, change positions coming into the NFL. So he's a guy that's probably going to continue to develop. But sure, I mean, is there potential there? Yeah, I mean, you saw things in Tennessee that you liked. You saw him making some of those tough catches over the middle. There was that one touchdown throw, I believe it might have been his second one, where Nick Foles kind of threw it in a tight window. He held on, and he knew he was going to get hit by a linebacker and took the hit and held on to the football. So that's a positive right there as well. So I do recall that touchdown you're talking about, although the one against Detroit where he kind of I think it might have been that Chase Daniels throw, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right.
And he made a nice catch there. So was that Thanksgiving game? I don't remember, but
I think it was Thanksgiving. Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you've seen some positives there. I just haven't seen the consistencies yet. So until we see that, you can't really rely on him and say he's going to be a big contributor on offense.
Yeah, I just I like. We had him on one of our shows in the past. He's a really bright guy. Then we got to meet him at a charity softball game, and he's definitely an athlete. He was a 2-sport athlete at Princeton, so he's got great athletic ability. He was a wide receiver there, and now the Bears coaches deemed him better for the tight end position, and he's been working his body to become a tight end body. And so perhaps this year we'll see something. I was a little bit surprised when they carried this many tight ends. It's 5 tight ends on the roster, right? So that was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see. I mean, I expect to see a lot of more 2 or 3 tight end formations. Some heavy packages there as well. I just wish, for a kid like, and we talked about McVay again, using a guy like Gerald Everett in the backfield and sneaking him out and taking advantage of his talents. This is where I was talking to you, pre-show. watching a McVay, Kyle Shanahan, film offensive breakdown and watching a Matt Nagy offensive breakdown, it's totally different. And some might say, oh, look at the talent those guys have. But yet still, you see guys that, the Gerald Everett, you see guys like Kendrick Bourne with the 49ers, you see some of these players that are not big name, high draft picks, but yeah, you see them being put in position to succeed and do what they do best. And a lot of these guys is just get them in the open field, scheme them open, and let their athletic ability take over. And I think a kid like Horsted, if you had someone like a McVay, for example, who gets them in the open field and allows them to put on some of that speed and show some of that athletic ability we were talking about, could be someone that could be a nice producer on offense. But unfortunately, we don't see much of that with this offense's play calling and the scheme here. So it's really not gut punch, but just kind of deflates your bubble, if you will, when you see scheme, one work in an offensive play caller just know how to use his personnel, how to maximize the talents of his personnel, and another one just kind of like, this is my offense, this is the plays I run, and this is how we're going to do it, and not really being that adjustable to him.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that is interesting, I'm actually trying to find it now, but I probably won't find it in time to share it with you, is Pro Football Focus put up a heat map to show where the Rams defense is most susceptible. And what was really startling to see on this heat map is all of the passes that are completed in the middle of the field. So it's interesting that we're talking about tight ends, because those guys usually are fearless in going over the middle. So perhaps we could see big games from the tight end position, with Graham and Komet and Horsted and JP Holtz. Who knows who's going to get the playing time? Jesse James, who's going to get the playing time? But it does appear, at least according to this information that Pro Football Focus has tracked, is that is a big gap in that Rams defense, the middle of the field.
Yeah, they lost Johnson, the safety. Like I said earlier, he wants to with the Browns now. They I believe Taylor Rapp and Jordan Fuller are their starting safeties now, both second and third year players respectively. In terms of the middle linebacker, Kenny Young and Troy Reader are still somewhat middle, younger players, if you will. So I mean, if I can see why they're being susceptible in the middle of the field. But the one thing with the Rams, though, the key is up front. If you can maintain, your offensive line integrity and keep Aaron Donald from destroying your offensive line like he did last year in that game we kept referring to here, that's a good start right there, because that gives the quarterback time to go ahead and find second, third options, and maybe it is a tight end in the middle of the field. Maybe it is a receiver running some of these crossing routes and getting open, like a Darnell Mooney or Demir Bird or some of these new faster, shiftier guys. Maybe that could be a way where you can go and attack them, continue to, get first downs. And what I'm curious to see, and there's some scuttlebutt in the media here lately in terms of maybe there's some offensive packages, some plays that they can probably insert Justin Fields in there and kind of take advantage of his athletic ability, whether it's some read option, some zone runs or whatnot. So just anything to kind of throw the Rams off balance a little bit and just, continue to get points. Because if you get points, I think if the Bears get out front 7-10 points, I think now the Rams are going to start feeling some pressure, and that's where the Bears can now start, pin their ears back in terms of pass rushers, Quins, the Max, and go up and try and sack Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I've been preaching putting Fields in there for packages all week, and some of the comments that I've gotten back are just, to me, ridiculous. While Trubisky was in a package last year and he got hurt, but you want him to start and be in there for 60 snaps? That's 60 times more the chance he's going to get hurt. This guy's an offensive weapon, and I said it before, I'll say it again. In the preseason scrimmage against the Dolphins, Justin Fields had 4 red zone touchdowns against the Dolphins defense, 3 of them passing, 1 of them running. And so if the Bears don't have a red zone package with Justin Fields in there for at least one play, and I'm not saying necessarily it has to be against the Rams, but very, very soon, then I think it's coaching negligence.
Right. I think you got to take advantage of the kid's an athlete, right? The kid's got some game-breaking play potential. And if you're an offense that's lacking firepower in terms of being able to get some consistent points on the board, you got to do whatever you can. And even if you bring him in and you line him up as a receiver, and you remember that play we just showed with Russell Wilson throwing DK Metcalf and the corner picked it off, But if you run a play similar and you throw a ball out to Justin Fields, and next thing you know, everybody thinks he's going to run the ball, and he throws it downfield because the receiver's streaking wide open. Just some different kind of views or something different that gives defensive coordinators, defensive players, something to look at, something to think about with Fields in there. So I definitely would like to see him come in there. If you remember correctly, Donovan McNabb, who was second overall pick, Andy Reid kind of used him that way. And I believe that Matt Nagy was on that offense system when they drafted McNabb. So, Doug Peterson started the first game. I think second game was when they started inserting McNabb for some special plays. He didn't start or anything, but he came in and, he had I think it was 4 or 5 or 6, set offensive plays just to give the defense a different look. And this is back when McNabb was a rookie. So and obviously football has advanced much more since back then, but still the same concept, right? Give defense a different look. You got an athletic kid back there, a guy who's got a tremendous arm strength. The guy's got, wheels, can run a 4.40. There's a number of things you could do with them in terms of getting creative and getting some positive plays on offense. And football, for me, at least, I believe in momentum. Once you gain momentum on football, whether it's on the offense or defense, you can then roll downhill with it, and you can get an opponent feeling some of the pressure. And next thing you know, you might cut out of LA a game you're a more than a touchdown underdog with a victory. Who knows?
4,000 Clovers doesn't agree. He thinks that the defense will read it like a book if Justin Fields is in there.
Well, what if he's just in there just as a decoy? Yeah, what if exactly. You just put him in there, line him up, and they might think, you know what? Oh, they're doing something with Fields, and next thing you know, you have a player streaking open or getting open. It just gives them something else to think about.
Here's another thing that I've been hearing a lot. Fields blows his knee coming out and cold for some gadget desperation play. Nagy should be thrown from the Hancock building. It's not that
football,
way,
guys.
It's football. Come on. Yes, it is football. It's a game of danger. And so to complain about him being in for one play, but then I've said it 10 times. I know I'm repeating myself, but then expected to be out there for 60 plays is utterly ridiculous in my mind. It just is. I don't get it.
Yeah, to me, you have nothing to lose and a lot more to gain. Just bring him in there and again, just give him something, give the defense something to think about and to be concerned about with another possible playmaker out on offense there.
Yep. All right. So let's not play him a full game.
Well, let's start him, but not play him a full game.
Exactly.
No, guys. I mean, and just to kind of so everyone, I think everyone knows how I feel, but I think Justin Fields should be the starter from game one. I know the big thing is all the offensive line is horrible, and that to me is more reason for Justin Fields to get in there and play because this offensive line is horrible. Justin Fields can go ahead and run away and break away from contain, and we've seen some of those things in the preseason. He's not a guy just runs it and tucks it and goes. He's a guy that's going to break, contain, get away from pressure, and look to get plays down the field. And we've seen his arm strength, we've seen his ball placement ability already at a young age. I would love to see him be in there, and maybe he can create things just by getting away from a pass rusher and having a play break down. And next thing you know, you see a receiver streaking behind the defense, and there's a big touchdown play for the Bears.
Ravi has a good point here. Run toward Leonard Floyd. So you scouted Leonard Floyd. You know him like the back of your hand. How would you kind of exploit this outside pass rusher who used to play for the Bears?
Well, Leonard Floyd obviously last year went to the Pro Bowl with the Rams, had a breakout season. I think was it 14 sacks last year? Yeah,
so I think 12 and a half. I'll double check it. Go ahead.
But I mean, obviously his pass rush game came to the point where it wasn't here with the Chicago Bears. But the one thing I think all you agree with when he was with the Bears, I think Leonard Floyd became a pretty damn good run defender. Mm-hmm. So running at him, I think that was a suggestion I saw in the chat room to run at him. It might be more difficult than it's more difficult than actually people think there. So, Floyd is a guy that I don't know if last year was a fluke, to be honest with you. I never saw the growth in him that I wanted as a pass rusher. Mm-hmm. I saw them become a better player in terms of just being a better linebacker. Like talk about run defense, talking about being able to sniff out some plays post snap and being able to get himself in position to get into coverage, for example. But pass rush wise, he never really did it for me. So I don't know if last year was just Aaron Donald drawing so much attention and it left him one-on-one or sometimes even uncovered, and he's got the God-given ability to speed to be able to burst, to come off the edge and maybe corral a quarterback. So he's got to do it again for me to consider him a great pass rusher or a threat as a pass rusher. But I think he had two sacks last year in that game versus the Bears. So definitely a guy you have to keep an eye on. But I'm not fearing him like I would do a normal Pro Bowl, double-digit sack guy coming off the edge.
He had 10.5 sacks during the regular season and then added 2 more in the postseason for a total of 12.5. And well, there's so much to see. One of the things that Greg said in his show earlier today, which by the way will be on Mondays now, is that what we saw in preseason doesn't matter.
Yep.
You can't make your expectations about the upcoming season based on what we saw preseason. This game on Sunday night, just like this game tonight, with the Cowboys and Bucks apparently in a close duel at halftime, although statistically it's the Bucks who are dominating the game, but every game has its own complexion. Every game in the NFL is much faster than it is in preseason, and all the scheming and so forth really goes into effect here, right, Dan?
Right, exactly. A vanilla defense, vanilla offense in the preseason, these coaching staff doesn't want to show anything in terms of what they have up their sleeves when the regular season comes around. So I agree 100% with Greg, and we've seen it so many times. We've seen players light up the preseason, and then when a regular season starts, the big lights come on and they deer in the headlights, and they're just not productive or anything like that. So anything in preseason you can throw out. The one thing I look at preseason is, for example, we talked about Travis Gibson. We saw a kid that's gotten bigger. We saw a kid that showed an improved pass rush arsenal. Yeah, it was like in second and third string blockers, but it's a guy that has showed an improvement. So now I want to see what I saw in the preseason put up against, in the regular season against, starting caliber offensive linemen. Does he carry that over? Does that continue? Does he now regress back to what he was, last season? So that's what I'm looking for. So those glimmer of hopes we talked about, Jasper Horsford, that game he had against Tennessee, is that just a flash in the pan, the third preseason game, playing up against, second and third string guys that some are not even in the league anymore? Or is that the potential he brings to this offense? Has he developed as a pass catching threat on this offense possibly? Personally, I'm a big fan of Jesse James in terms of, I think, the tight end guy. That's a guy I forgot to mention when we were talking about tight ends. A guy that I think can bring a lot to this passing game this season. It's a free agent pickup from the I believe it was the Lions last year. So that's another guy that I'm looking at for as well. So yeah, you look at stuff in the preseason that players that kind of stood out, players that did things well, you want to see them be able to carry it on. But in terms of making a read on a team overall, because a team goes 0-3 in the preseason, that means they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. That's total, that's preposterous. We've seen teams go undefeated in the preseason and just sting up the joint when the regular season started. So all I want to see typically is just certain players get better and show out and show improvement from previous years. You want to see rookies, what kind of impact they make stepping onto the NFL field for the first time. Those are the things I look for in the preseason. Now, starting Sundays, where I'm going to see, all right, scheme wise, what are the coaches doing? How are they breaking down? How are they utilizing their talent? Is the offensive line gelling? Is the offensive line getting worse? If they're getting worse, do the coaching staff have a solution to plug in a player here and try and fix it? Last year, what was it, Aldo? Was it 7-8 weeks before they went to that combination of Bars, Mustafa, and Whitehair in the middle? And by the time it's 7-8 weeks into the season, I think that's a little bit too late to make that kind of adjustment. You should make the adjustments earlier. And if you had fixed your offense earlier, the offensive line portion of it earlier, maybe you would have an extra win or two under your belt. Who knows?
I'll answer this question for you. Danny does not think Borum can play the left tackle. Am I correct, Danny?
That's correct. As of right now, I don't think Larry Borum's a left tackle in the NFL.
Right. Well, and Greg Gabriel thinks that he might have a shot at that. And I'm looking at our fantasy football score there. There's Danny kicking my butt, 37-2. That's early, but still, this is what I am used to.
It's only one game. Come on.
So I think that's going to wrap up our show. I can't wait for next week. Next week, we will have Bears tape to evaluate from their Rams game on Sunday night. We'll also have a little bit of tape from their upcoming opponent, Cincinnati. We'll highlight maybe a position battle or something like that. If anyone has ideas, send them to us at the Barroom Network or send them to Danny at DShimon56. For those of you listening on audio, it's DSHIMON56 at Danny Shimon 56. That's his Twitter account. Danny, any last words?
No, I'm just excited to see what happens here. We talked about some of the changes on both sides on both teams, in terms of offense, defense. So it's time to, kick the ball off and see what happens. I'm real curious to see if Justin Fields gets into the game. I'm real curious to see if Matt Nagy is going to do anything differently, scheme wise this year with his offense. I think we touched about it earlier, guys. I liked what Bill Lazor was doing in his 4 or 5 game audition there with Trubisky in terms of play calling and some of the different things he was doing. So hopefully, hopefully it's not to that point where we have to, kind of pull away the play calling again from Matt Nagy, but it's not something that I'm really too excited about, let's just say. So curious to see how he if he improves, how he transforms as a play caller. Obviously if you get in there, get a victory, be a huge start to the season to go 1-0. And then that's a great way to start the new Andy Dalton's era, the Chicago Bears.
Exactly. A couple programming notes, actually more than a couple. We debuted our new debate show, The Bear Debate, where John Buffone goes up against Tyler Ellis. That show premiered this week. You can check it out on demand here on the Barroom Network. There's also an audio version that you can get on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. So would love for you to check that out. As I said earlier in the show, Greg Gabriel and I did a show covering the Bears, and so that's available on our Barroom Network YouTube channel, also available audio podcast. Mike North and I talked plenty of Chicago Bears, so if you want Mike's take on it, and he's also got a couple of betting tips for Sunday's action. And coming up on Sunday, the action starts early in the morning with the Barfly Tailgate guys. The Barfly Tailgate shows, those guys are super passionate Bears fans. They get you riled up and ready to go for that game. And then after that, it'll be the Fantasy Football Goon Show with Joe Mandel and his new co-host, Adam Sham. They will answer your questions about who to sit, who to start, and tell you why. They're just not going to say, yeah, start that guy and move on. They go into detail so that we can all learn along with them. So that's going to be outstanding. And then immediately after the game, late Sunday night, it'll be Tyler Ellis, John Buffone, and myself with immediate reaction. And then on Monday, it starts all over again, a new week of programming. Greg Gabriel will be here Monday to talk about the Matt Nagy press conference, to talk about the game itself, and on and on. We got a lineup of Bears football unlike any podcast network, webcast network. And we've also got Cubs, White Sox, and Bulls coverage. So we've got all of Chicago sports covered for you. Danny Shimon, you are the man. I can't wait for next week when we look over a 34-27 Chicago Bears.
There it is. I was going to ask you what your thoughts were on the game. What's your final score there? So it's 34-27, huh?
No, I just threw that out. I picked that on my butt. Danny, weeks ago, I was like, yeah, maybe they can get into the playoffs, win 11 games and so forth. And then I looked over the schedule. I got them winning 7 games. I don't see how they can win this first game, but I hope I'm pleasantly surprised. So we'll see.
Oh, they're going to have opportunity. I mean, on paper, obviously it looks bleak, right? But I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. I think there's some opportunities there for them to catch the Rams in a little bit of a transition phase, if you will. So I'm curious to see how that comes. If the Rams come off firing on all cylinders, offense, defense, obviously the Bears' offensive line is a huge concern for me. How they hold up initially in that first quarter, the first half is going to be kind of, for me, indicative of how this game is going to go. So we'll see how that ends up.
Steven, who is out across the pond, says he can't wait to stay up to 5 a.m. in the morning to watch the game.
Wow.
That is great. And I will say this. One of a couple of the things that I want to see is I want to see this team come out of the tunnel fired up and ready to play some smash mouth football. And Matt Nagy said one of the things that we want for this year is the team to be more aggressive, more physical, but to play Bear football, because that hasn't been Matt Nagy's teams his first 3 seasons with the Chicago Bears. So we want this team to come out of the tunnel and play hard and fast, and not like we saw recently against the Buffalo Bills, where that team, even though it's a preseason game, that shouldn't matter at all. They should come out strong. So I want to see that, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think I haven't seen this team be that aggressive since 2018, right? And that was Vic Fangio's defense led the way there. There were guys that were just creating turnovers, getting pressure on the quarterbacks. that was something that, and then that kind of fed off the offense. And then, we got some easy scores here and there. So I think that's, I would agree with you. If defense come out there and kind of, punches the Rams in the mouth a little bit there and says, hey, you guys have got all the pub this offseason, but you know what, we're here to play football. That's going to be encouraging. And then again, offensively, I hope that Nagy sticks to some sort of a balanced offense, continues to at least run the ball or give defenses the pause or the thinking there of a run threat. And then, you never know. Like I said, this could be a game they can go in there and they can go in and maybe, steal a victory from the Rams here. I'm hopeful.
Zach is telling Steven that he would immigrate for that reason alone, so he can avoid getting up.
Don't they have the DVRs in over the pond?
They do have DVRs, but you got to watch the game live. I only watch a game on DVR after I've already seen it. Dan Aguirre, my partner on the Tuesday night show, he will not, if he's working or something, he will record the game and avoid all social media, all because he doesn't want it ruined. I can't. I got to know immediately what's happening. I got to. So
especially if you're out and about in the city here, you can't walk around anywhere without seeing the Bears game up on bar TV or some restaurant TV or anything like that. So definitely, I'm going to record it too because I like to record it because I just like to watch it over again. Like I said, I like the TV copy, and hopefully the NFL Game Pass fixes their crap, and we can have some old 22 cuts after Sunday's game. But definitely, I'm going to record it and definitely going to start watching it over again.
All right, man. Everybody is just fired up. Nobody wants to go home. Look at Grant Sims just arrived. Hey, what's up, everybody? We're closing the doors to the bar room tonight. So thanks, everybody.
Although called last call.
Yeah, that's right. I should have like a sound effect. Last call. But we are, hopefully you will, for those of you who have just joined us late, you will catch the beginning of the show because Danny, as always, did a brilliant job of breaking down tape, showing some of the strengths of this Rams defense and offense, especially on play action. And so it's going to be a fascinating game, especially now. So Grant says, sheesh, I'm always late. All right.
Set a reminder, Grant. That reminder so that they notifies you, right?
There you go. You just hit that little bell on that below that YouTube screen. It will remind you every time we go live. And that bell is going to go off often because we got a lot of great programming here on the Barroom Network. Thanks again, Danny.
Good night.